Good evening. We seem to be reaching a point in which little is off the table in terms of controlling the COVID-19 pandemic. The mayor of New York City today telling residents to prepare to shelter in place. The decision, he says, to be made within the next 48 hours. It would follow strict measures that took effect in the San Francisco Bay Area today. Also, an extraordinary plea to the young today. Officials say they hold the key to winning this fight. We have so much to tell you about tonight. Leading off our team is Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight in communities big and small, this is the new normal as the coronavirus crisis changes daily life as we know it. New York City announcing it could soon follow the Bay Area's shelter-in-place directive. 7 million people told to go home and stay home. Cable cars here are idle. Snarled traffic over the Golden Gate Bridge is gone as the mayor works in an empty city hall.
What we have done is really what should be happening all over the country.
The 3-week order, the most dramatic in the nation, just beginning to impact families who can still go outside but must avoid public gatherings. Our Jake Ward lives in Oakland.
This is our reality for the next 3 weeks. We're going to be eating out of our kitchen. We're going to be taking conference calls at our dining room table and homeschooling our kids, although neither of us is a qualified teacher. All of that is going to be a real challenge.
The drastic measures in the Bay Area could soon be adopted in already eerily quiet New York City. The mayor says within 48 hours, the city could be ordered to shelter in place. The governor today.
This is an extraordinary time in this nation's history. It will go down in the history books as one of those moments of true crisis.
New York State has the most cases of coronavirus, while across the country in Washington State, the death toll is the highest. Today in Dallas, Cleveland, Seattle, and Rochester, many waited for hours to be tested for the virus. The White House is now urging more Americans to connect with doctors by phone or Skype, hoping to unclog overrun emergency rooms. While the young are most likely to recover from COVID-19, they are also more likely to spread it to someone who will not.
We can't do this without the young people cooperating. Please cooperate with us.
The closing of gyms, theaters, and shopping malls, all aimed at reducing transmission.
It probably would be several weeks and maybe longer before we know whether we're having an effect.
With Ohio postponing its primary today, Florida carried on as planned, though starting at midnight, the governor has ordered all bars and nightclubs to close and restricting public beaches where large groups of spring breakers have gathered.
They're off!
Even the Kentucky Derby postponed for the first time since World War II.
Hey there, old-timer. How you doing today?
But tonight, Americans are finding ways to stay connected in this new reality. In North Carolina, Carly Boyd came to show her grandfather she's now engaged. This sweet life moment, a reminder we are all separated together.
There are more staggering numbers out there today. The TSA says 1 million fewer people traveled yesterday than compared to a year ago at the same time. And air traffic control personnel has also gotten sick at Midway International Airport. They are slowing down operations there. Meantime, we also know the death toll has climbed to over 100 in this country. And Lester, in businesses all across the country, including in our newsroom, they are going to a standstill. Every seat in this building is typically busy on a busy news day. That is not the case today. This is the new reality at workplaces all across the country. Lester?
Yeah, Miguel, and that picture you showed of that young woman visiting her grandfather through the window, just absolutely heartbreaking. Well, tonight the Pentagon says it's preparing to provide military hospital ships, labs, and ventilators for civilian use and potentially call up more National Guard troops as people across the country rush to find testing sites. With that, here's Tom Costello.
Across the country, demand for a COVID-19 test is far exceeding capacity. In Birmingham, Alabama, the line of cars was so long it snarled highway traffic, a doctor determining who should and shouldn't be tested. More drive-through testing in Long Island and the eastern shore of Maryland. Maryland plans to turn its auto emission stations into COVID-19 testing. The federal government says public and private labs have now processed roughly 59,000 tests so far.
And we're seeing a lot of people just kind of freaking out, wanting peace of mind.
NBC's Morgan Chesky is in Dallas.
Here at this drive-through clinic, anyone can show up. But to get that precious COVID-19 test, patients have to test negative for seasonal flu, strep throat, or tell doctors they've come into contact with a positive case.
The number of confirmed cases rising by the day. Today, we checked back with Dr. Ryan Kay, who runs the ER at Everett Providence Medical Center outside of Seattle. In the past 5 days, the number of patients with respiratory complaints has jumped 25%.
I am worried we are going to exceed our total bed capacity for the Northwest region of Washington in a short period of time in the next 1 to 2 weeks.
Elizabeth Schneider tested positive after being sick with what she thought was the flu. Her temperature peaking at 103.
I felt pretty awful for about 5 days, I would say. And then on the 6th day, I started feeling better. And then the 7th and the 8th days was really when I kind of broke through a wall.
In St. Louis, KSDK NBC5 anchor Ann Allred has been ordered to stay home. Having undergone a kidney transplant 3 years ago, she takes medicine daily that suppresses her immune system.
When I asked what could happen if I contracted coronavirus, I was told pretty much anything between pneumonia and death. So yes, I'm taking it seriously, and I feel very lucky to be able to work from home.
Meanwhile, in Seattle, the first clinical trials for a possible vaccine are underway with 45 healthy volunteers, among them Jennifer Haller.
Everybody's feeling so helpless right now, and I was so excited to find an opportunity where I could actually do something tangible to help everybody.
Tonight, ProPublica has a new Harvard World Health Study which finds under nearly any pandemic scenario, the nation's ICUs would be overwhelmed. And in a moderate scenario, the country would need 4 times as many beds as it currently has. Lester?
All right, some harsh numbers there. All right, Tom Costello, thanks. And with the economy reeling tonight, the Trump administration and Congress are working on a massive stimulus package that could be up to $1 trillion in aid. That sent the stock market surging today, with the Dow gaining more than 1,000 points. Our Peter Alexander is at the White House.
Tonight, the Trump administration is pushing a huge new prescription to try to boost the devastated economy, sending cash directly to Americans.
We're looking at sending checks to Americans immediately. Americans need cash now, and the president wants to get cash now. And I mean now, in the next 2 weeks.
The president promising what he calls bold action.
We don't want people losing their jobs or not having money to live when they were doing very well just 4 weeks ago. So we're going big, and that's the way it'll be.
Tonight, the White House is proposing what would be one of the largest emergency aid packages ever, in the range of $1 trillion. So far, no word how big those checks would be, but not everyone would get one.
We don't need to send people who make $1 million a year checks, okay?
It's now up to Congress how much lawmakers are willing to spend. The proposed package also includes emergency loans for small businesses and billions for the hardest-hit industries like the airlines. Meanwhile, President Trump, who's been criticized for repeatedly downplaying the virus threat, today insisting his tone has not changed.
This is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic.
Also tonight, some relief ahead of next month's tax deadline. While the administration is encouraging people to file on time, they say if you owe the IRS money, you'll get an extra 90 days to pay it with the interest and penalties waived. Lester?
I think people will take any help they can find right now. Peter, thanks. And for some, that relief from the government can't come fast enough, with many small businesses and their workers already feeling the pain. Here's Gabe Gutierrez with that.
As the president touted financial relief today, Peter Daphnos watched in frustration.
There's not enough information. We don't know what we're going to get from the government, what type of help.
He and his cousin run New York's Westway Diner, a theater district staple. Overnight, he switched to only takeout orders.
Is it sustainable to just fulfill takeout and delivery orders?
No. Business is down 95%.
What's your message to President Trump?
We need help now.
From coast to coast, small businesses are growing increasingly desperate. From the restaurant industry in Illinois,
federal government really needs to step up and support the restaurant hospitality industry in 2020 like they did in 2008 for the auto industry.
To a gym in Connecticut.
The bottom line for us, it's stressful, because we have, mortgages and taxes.
To Austin, Texas, which closed its bars and restaurants today. Anxious musicians watching the self-described live music capital of the world getting quieter by the hour.
But I really worry about my friends in the business I know that work gig to gig and hand to mouth.
This is no ripple effect. It's a tidal wave. For the travel industry, too. Top executives met with President Trump at the White House today.
We know that your industry is among the hardest hit by the economic impact of the virus.
As Marriott announced it was preparing to furlough tens of thousands of workers. At the Westway Diner, what stings the most is the uncertainty.
It hurts a lot because we grew up in this business. This is our home and this is our customers' home. We're family here. It's a big family.
Many small business owners we spoke with say they plan to dip into their savings to pay for rent, but they don't know how long they'll be able to avoid layoffs. Lester.
All right, Gabe, thank you. In an empty Times Square. In the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, 3 states, Arizona, Florida, and Illinois, holding presidential primaries today after Ohio delayed its contest. NBC's Kerry Sanders is in Florida.
Slide it on in. Primary voting in the age of coronavirus. Hand sanitizer encouraged. And in Illinois today, blue tape on the floor to keep voters 6 feet apart. Gary Perkins' personal protection, his winter gloves.
I'm doing what I can to keep myself safe.
In Arizona, an estimated 1 in 25 voters showed up today wearing a mask, including 82-year-old Sharon Maxwell.
And you voted?
I sure did. In Florida, some chose to wear surgical gloves. 20% of Florida is over 65, the same group most susceptible to coronavirus.
And coronavirus was not going to dissuade you?
No. But in Florida, like Illinois, also problems. Poll workers afraid. They didn't show up this morning, leaving voters scrambling. In Palm Beach County, at least 17 precincts failed to open.
I don't think I'm going to vote, no. Because you just don't want to get close to somebody? Just for my own protection.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine postponed his state's primary today.
No one will have to choose between their constitutional rights and risking their health.
Other states and Puerto Rico with upcoming primaries now doing the same as the health of the nation takes center stage.
This firehouse in Orlando among the many pop-up precincts today. The voting booths here had been in a nursing home.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.